I think we can all agree that Black Ops 6 is the best Call of Duty campaign since at least Black Ops Cold War in 2020. And that's not much of a surprise, as it takes a lot from that game and builds on the foundations to make what is, until halfway through, the better game, an even better game, and arguably the best Call of Duty campaign in over a decade. You know, it can really stake its claim towards doing that with just how diverse and intricate some of these missions are, to the point that a lot of people are saying that this is the Call of Duty campaign for people that hate Call of Duty, you know? But as we reach the end of the campaign, we run into this mission called Ground Control, which is basically your stereotypical Call of Duty shooting gallery mission. It is completely outdated, and it makes you wonder why it's there. A lot of the game's worst tropes, like the RCXD spam, for example, come out in that mission. Under the radar, the first half of that is pretty good as well, but then the second half of that, once again, divulges into the same sort of shooter gallery stuff that Ground Control had. And it's really, really annoying, and it takes a lot of the wind out of your sails. And then we get up to the ending of the game, which is separation anxiety and checkmate. You kind of go back and forth between these two things, and it's obvious that they're trying to do what they did with Black Ops Cold War's Break On Through mission, which was you'd go through these scenarios to try and reach the answer to the overarching problem of the entire game, and that in itself was very much inspired by Black Ops 3. However, this version doesn't really hold the same weight. Of course, our main villain ends up being Jane Harrow, of course, but we don't know enough about Jane to really care about the trauma that she's going through, or that she went through to reach that point with the basically personality disorder that she ends up having, a split personality disorder that is also caused by the Cradle, which is another thing that doesn't exactly get explained. Our main character, Case, is the first case for the Cradle as well. That never gets revealed, that never gets expanded upon neither. It just feels really, really bare bones and surface level, and it's not something I think is going to be explored in future neither, because just as we get to a point where it's getting really interesting, where we find out, the Cradle's in Washington, D.C. Everybody there is in huge, huge trouble. I guess we're going to D.C. No, we're not. The game just ends, pretty much, after you chase after Jane, you stop her, whatever. But surely the rest of the operatives would have still gone to Washington, D.C. No, Livingston believes Woods. Why? Because Livingston was in on it the whole time. Livingston knew all about the Pantheon, all about the Cradle, those experiments and stuff like that, to my knowledge anyway. And then we get this cutscene at the end where he's basically setting up Warzone and the multiplayer seasons. I think it's more so the multiplayer seasons, but it really did feel like Warzone when you reach the end of it. It felt like they were setting up a Warzone follow-up. It even felt like a Warzone cutscene, if you remember Black Ops Cold War's Warzone cutscenes, and I just got a huge issue with that. I feel a little bit better about it that it's multiplayer centric and that I don't have to play Warzone to experience the next part of the story, and I am intrigued to see what they do with it. However, this takes a lot of replay value from Black Ops 6 later on down the line, and this isn't the first time they've done this neither. Modern Warfare 2 2022 is another victim of this, where that story is kind of null and void now because of what happens in Warzone between MW2 and MW3, and then MW3 happens, which in itself is directly impacted from Warzone. There's loads of missions that you got those open missions, right? Open conflict or whatever they're called. They're literally just Warzone maps, to my understanding. It's just honestly awful, easily the worst COD campaign of all time. And now Black Ops 6 seems to be infected by it too, And it's frustrating because they don't have to do this. Black Ops Cold War had a very definitive ending, either way. And you didn't have to have, yes, they continued the whole Perseus thing in Warzone, but you didn't have to play Warzone to experience the rest of the Cold War story, because Cold War finished. That mission finished. That game, that campaign, it felt finished. Black Ops 6, on the other hand, is clearly trying to push us towards multiplayer, towards Warzone, to experience what happens next in the story. And it's just really loose. You know, the Pantheon, do they even still exist, or have they just been completely replaced by Crimson One? What's going on with the Cradle? Are we going to see any more about that? Don't get me wrong, I really like how we're taking the campaign characters, especially people like Sev and Marshall, and hopefully we get Felix as well, and Adler more, and we see more of Woods. It'd be really, really cool. But Black Ops 6 ends up being the weakest Black Ops campaign for me. It just doesn't feel complete at all. It just feels like we had a plot with a really, really good foundation. We just reached the peak of it, where all the secrets are revealed and you're wanting to find out more. You're wanting to find out what happens if the rest of the cast find out about this secret. And then it just ends. You know, nobody finds out. Nobody knows the secrets about Case. Nothing is known at all. No one knows what the Cradle is actually capable of doing, you know, and when it's used in its full intention. You know, it's right in front of them. We're playing as the guy, but it's just kind of dropped like that in place of this conflict that will be happening within our multiplayer seasons. And again, it's just not going to be replayable. We'll be going back to Black Ops 6 months down the line, years down the line, and it just won't have the same sort of impact, because the story ends on basically some sort of No, it's not even some sort of cliffhanger. It is a cliffhanger. We don't know who that guy on the laptop is unless you go into the multiplayer. What happens years down the line when we can't, well, not even years down the line, literally months down the line, where you'll be missing entire chapters of what happens next in the story because it happened already. It happened in a live service multiplayer. Nah, you missed it, and that sort of stuff. So, like, unless Black Ops 7 is similarly structured to Black Ops 2, where we have a past events section and we have a current present events section, Black Ops 6 is going to be made sort of redundant in a lot of ways. And that's a shame, because I really like the characters that they introduced in this story. You know, they even brought back people like Sims and obviously Helen Park, which was really, really cool to see them again. But, you know, we had some really cool characters introduced, like Sev, for example. Sev is awesome. I love her. Felix, I love him. He is also great. I really loved his whole morality thing that he had going on. I would have loved to have seen that be explored more. Woods, we see a bit more of a calm down Woods a couple of years after Mason's death, of course. And it would have been really cool to fully realize, to see how he would react receiving confirmation that Harrow was the one that set Woods up in Panama. You know, it's implied, but it's not ever known for sure, and I don't think it ever will be. And to be fair, it probably shouldn't ever be, because, you know, Woods didn't exactly know in Black Ops 2 neither, so maybe that makes sense. But, you know, I would have liked to have seen more of Adler as well, but it feels like Adler himself was a bit more of a supporting character this time round. I just feel like we're missing a bunch of missions. Like, I feel like a bunch of them just got cut or something, you know? There's no way Black Ops 6's campaign took 4 years to create. Not when Black Ops Cold War took like a year tops, and that was a complete story. Yes, it was shorter, don't get me wrong, but only by a few missions, you know? Black Ops 6 had a lot of missions, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that much longer than Cold War. And it's a shame, you know. I've had a feeling for a while now that Treyarch had finished up with Black Ops 6 maybe a year ago in terms of the campaign and stuff, and that's why we're getting a Black Ops next year, you know. That they've had time to work in advance, I'm pretty sure. But I didn't think that would come at the detriment of one of the games. I thought, if anything, that would have helped to increase the potential of both the games, you know? Don't get me wrong. it's still great in its own merit. And there are missions in Black Ops 6 that I'm 100% going to come back to and play. The open world mission took me off guard with how good it was, you know? That's the difference between, you know, Treyarch doing an open world mission and Sledgehammer doing one with like months to do so. You know, months to create the entire game as well. You know, there's a key big difference, and there's a massive quality difference between a campaign like Modern Warfare 3 and a campaign like Black Ops 6. But I just feel like Activision, they instructed Treyarch to find a way to get Black Ops 6's campaign player base into the multiplayer, and I just feel like that's the wrong thing to do. You know, for me personally, I buy Black Ops only, you know, and that's only because of the campaign. So I can see why they would want to do it, but they don't have to, you know. They did it perfectly fine in Black Ops Cold War. We had the whole Perseus storyline in that game. I have no idea what happened because I didn't play it back then, but it existed, you know, and you can still go back to Cold War now and experience that, and you might not ever know that there was a Warzone storyline containing more of Perseus, finding out about the group and not just the man, you know? I thought that was really cool, and I think that's how it should be done. Black Ops 6, on the other hand, you'll be playing this months later, years later perhaps, and there'll be new players doing it, and they'll reach this cliffhanger and be like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. They go into Black Ops 7, and it's like a completely different story. Not a completely different story, it'll have some ties to it, but, you know, there's a very strong chance that Black Ops 7 won't have any references to the Pantheon or Crimson One, blah, 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 you know? Because, guess what? It's years later. You know, Black Ops 7, it's hinted to be a Black Ops 2 sequel, so that'll be, 30 years after Black Ops 6? There'll be no reason to really delve into Black Ops 6's events again, unless, like I said earlier, they do a past and present sort of thing where we have events where we go back and we start to see like the end of the Pantheon or more interactions with them and that mysterious group. I don't know, but I think the moral of the story here, the moral of this video, is that I really don't think this is a route that Activision should go down, because it's making campaigns extremely expendable. You know, even more than it already is, let's be real. Making it online only has got to be one of the worst things ever. I cannot believe 10 years later, this is still a thing that people are doing. Why? I don't get it. Why not, on the disc itself, just have the campaign, have your multiplayer maps, your zombies, and then everything else you add on through COD HQ? Why is it all got to be inside COD HQ? If you're buying these games on discs, you don't own those games. You don't own them, because when those servers go down, it's done. It's over. It's not coming back, you know? And I really think there's a much smaller chance of a game like Black Ops 6 coming back than a game like The Crew, for example, you know? I just don't think people are going to care enough. We'll see, don't get me wrong, we'll see, but they all run on the same Modern Warfare engine now, and, you know, I don't see it happening. I think when the Black Ops 6 servers shut down, I think we'll lose this game for good, and I think that's a damn shame, because there are things in this game that are incredible. They really are incredible, you know? I just wanted to talk about this before Season 1 drops in a couple of days. I am excited for that. I am excited to see what happens next in the whole Pantheon storyline thing. I'm glad to be a part of it. But I'm also thinking of, for those people who haven't played it yet, for those who will play it months in advance, months later, sorry, and never really feel a story resolution. Again, Treyarch and Raven, they can prove me wrong. They really can prove me wrong if they release Black Ops 7 and, you know, they make this whole argument redundant and the multiplayer storyline kind of carries through over into Black Ops 7 and we get some references to that, you know? Who knows? But, yeah. a really bad sign for Call of Duty, to be honest. And this is the first time I'm dealing with it because I didn't play. Oh well, I didn't buy Modern Warfare 2 and 3, but this is a bad trend in gaming. In my opinion, probably the worst trend. I would rather have loot boxes and really predatory microtransactions back in the game than this, you know? Because in a predatory game like Black Ops 3, for example, or even Black Ops 4, there is value in buying those games physical. You know, Black Ops 4, you got the whole Blackout map to explore. It is quite fun going into that and just exploring, especially like split screen with a friend or whatever. Zombies still exists. And then, of course, you got the multiplayer maps with bots. There is still some value to that. Not much, don't get me wrong, but it's there. And Black Ops 3, don't even get me started on that. You got all the zombies maps, you got multiplayer, campaign, multiple playthroughs, since, you know, you've got campaign weapon camos, the level up system, the cyber cores, you know, the little superpowers things that you would have to play through multiple times to unlock them all. There's just so much value there, even though that game did have some really predatory microtransactions, such as, you know, the map packs that Call of Duty used to do, the whole gobble gum system that was in that game. Regardless of that, there was still value next to that. And with Black Ops 6, it just doesn't have that because it's online only. You cannot experience any of it, even the single player stuff, without it. Don't even get me started on zombies. A pause timer. You know, when you pause the game and it gives you 15 minutes to get back on before it kicks you out. What on earth are we doing in modern gaming these days, still having online only stuff? I don't get it. I really don't get it, you know? It's going to suck to lose some of these games. Don't even get me started on Destiny 1. I'm really going to miss that game, but, you know, that's a whole other game and video in its entirety. Either way, Activision, you need to stop doing this. You need to let these developers complete their campaigns. Please don't let Warzone and your multiplayer stuff bleed into the solo stuff, because some of us, we're just not here for that, you know? I'll play a bit of Warzone, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to go from the campaign into Warzone. I'm a completely different part of the fan base, bro. I'm here to play single player missions, not Battle Royale, you know? But guys, once again, that just about does it for this video. Let me know what you thought of the Black Ops 6 campaign. Be sure to check out my Let's Play on it, and of course, my recent videos on the multiplayer. I will be doing the Season 1 launch live. I can't wait to do it, and hopefully I see some of you guys there. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.